Whoop. I had my wrong show notes open, but welcome everyone to the Wednesday Night Live show. I am your host, John Truncali, alongside Tim, and the very beautiful and talented Michelle is with us tonight. No, Phil. And we have a newcomer to our show, Jeff Barry. Jeff's going to, for those that don't know who Jeff is, he's going to let us know here in a few minutes. He'll give us an update to his life. Very interesting. Anyone that's in this industry, whether you're a customer, a shop owner, a distro, or a mixologist, we've all run into the same issues in the last 12, 13 years. And we're not hiding anymore. We're not hiding. We're coming out and we're fighting back for once. And I think we've had a lot of great news this year as well. So Jeff's going to join us and share a little bit about himself. But before we get into all that, well, I'm not going to start with you, Tim. I'm going to start with the guests first. Jeff, we like to do this little segment where we like to know how your week is going. So, and Tim's he's going to outdo us because he lives this lavish lifestyle. It's just almost impossible. He's eating dinner with celebrities. He's chasing bears. He's doing all kinds of stuff.
So, I have basically, I just left Western New York and just drove 11 hours down to my shop in Tennessee. So, long story short, if you want, I can envision or give you a little detail of how I ended up in Tennessee. But I started a shop in 2009 in Western New York, and then the counties were starting to ban flavors, and I moved my stores to Pennsylvania. I was there from 2010 to 6/17. They put a 40% tax on everything, and except for online. Yep. And that put me out of business there, and I was out of the business until my wife convinced me to go back to New York. And then they banned flavors in New York, and then I ended up back in Pennsylvania. So,
we lost
in Tennessee.
We got him back. There he is.
All right.
Pennsylvania is my home state. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania.
Where's that?
South Philly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's why my parents left in the 80s and said, we're going to California, which wasn't
was that an improvement, John?
Yeah, it's not really an improvement.
So, but that's my synopsis and my professional synopsis in a career. Been in the advocacy world since probably 2012, 13. Yeah. Pennsylvania Vape Association, CASAD in the beginning. I knew Alex Clark when he just got out of car rental business.
And just like that,
Tim's gone.
He'll be back on. My stream might be having some issues. I've always brought up Pennsylvania as one of those states that has had issues with vaping, but it kind of found ways to deal with it, whether it was, with high taxes. But again, the stores stayed open and they stayed in business. Most of them did. So I always brought it up. I think for the last 5-6 years, I was always like, what's going on in Pennsylvania? Why is Pennsylvania seem to be out of the argument of shops shutting down, banning flavors, and all this other stuff that just seems to work there in Pennsylvania? It seems like the customer is even happy to pay a little bit extra just to get the flavors and get what they need and what they like. Is that the sense you have there being in Pennsylvania?
The state for the most part has been very satisfied with the 40% tax.
Yeah.
So you pay an OTP license, then you have to pay the 40% tax. Most distribution companies collect the tax, like say HS Wholesale, Demand Vape, Kingdom Vapor, which is very instrumental in Pennsylvania still being around in the vape world, because they're the ones that sued Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania, and won. I don't know if anybody knows that, but
victory. Yes.
Yeah. Ben and Ben and Zach Osterling, who own Kingdom Vapor, they actually sued the state of Pennsylvania back in 2018 and actually won the case where it's only 40% on e-liquid, not everything.
Not everything, yeah.
So they're pretty instrumental in the state. So
Well, we're going to get to know a lot more about you here in a minute. Let's switch it over to now. Michelle is a pretty extravagant life as well. She's out and about doing things there in Florida, chasing people off her beach and all kinds of stuff. Michelle, how's your week going?
It's going okay. I think I mentioned last week that my dad had broke his foot in two different places. Well, he finally got in. After the storm, it was delayed because of the storm. So he's had sitters and all that. They went in and found there was 3 breaks. And anyway, he's sitting in a hospital right now, not very happy.
No, they're never happy.
He's at least got some care,
You know what, Michelle? I don't get it either. You know, when they get so upset for being in the hospital, for once in their life, they're getting served, and they're getting food brought to them. They're getting taken care of. The things that they always complained that we never did as children. Now they're getting taken care of hand over foot. So it's weird.
Well, he's kind of one of those people that's always been grumpy, and that's putting it lightly. So, you'd think that he would enjoy that. I would think, but he doesn't, so, he's got a long road ahead of him. He's got 6 or 8 weeks before he can put any kind of weight on it.
Yeah.
So, and he's a big man. So, he's in for a long haul.
And he's an ex-cop too, so he's got that cop attitude too as well.
Yeah, which is bigger than life.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait to yell at a kid to stay off my grass, but I got to get grass first, so that would be a good thing.
Hey, I've done it.
Oh.
But anyway, that's about it, really,
So exciting life there.
Yeah.
Let's go over to the you know what? I'm not even gonna let him go next. I'm gonna go next. I've had a pretty boring week. We actually got fall here. Fall finally. We have temperatures in the 70s.
That means you have a hoodie on all the time then.
I had to put a light jacket on, and I still have my shorts on, but I had to put a light jacket on. It's been a pretty boring week. Still trying to work on the studio and trying to get that done and soundproofed and everything, all the mics and everything set up. I'm sorry for all the sports stuff, but the sports show is what I do too. So, but that's about it. Now, just staying out. Tonight's my Friday. Get through tonight's shift. Get home at 5 o'clock. Try not to go to bed and stay awake and enjoy my Thursday. That's about it. All right, let's swing over to the HOA rocker, the guy that did you chase any bears today, Tim?
Unfortunately, no, didn't. Well, unless you qualify lawyers as being bears, I did chase
bears.
a lawyer yesterday. Yeah. So, but with that said, you know what, John? I hate to bring the whole entire audience vibe down, but it's been almost uneventful. I don't know how to elevate my life any more than it is at the current moment since last Tuesday. But I will add, we're on to the next phase. So, did have some conversations with an immigration attorney yesterday. Basically, it'd be a money grab for this guy, but anyway, it's always nice to have somebody in your corner. No, it's been a pretty normal average week for me. Just work, and doing all the normal stuff. I should have some good stories after this weekend. Tomorrow we're going to a show at Mad Life in Woodstock, Virginia, and we're going to go see, I don't know, here's a name. Some of you may not know this guy, but this is a guy from the past. Does anybody remember a band called White Lion?
Yes,
from the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. Remember the song Wait and all that stuff? Yeah. So we're going to see Mike Tramp. He was the blonde-haired lead singer. So he's performing in Woodstock tomorrow night. So we're going to go see him perform some of the old classics. And then I'm going to help a friend celebrate his grand old 50th birthday. His name is Chris Green, and he used to be the guitarist in another 80s, 90s era band called Takedo. I don't think anybody remember that, but they're doing a Oktoberfest theme. And so I've come to the conclusion that I just cannot make peace with the idea of wearing lederhosen. So I basically got.
We want pictures. We want pictures.
I'm not wearing. The rules in the party were you can dress like that if you want to, but it's not required. And I saw the small writing in the contract that said you don't have to. So I've decided to at least play along, and I ordered a shirt that says in kind of like in Bavarian or German or Dutch or whatever. It says mein Lederhosen is in der Wasch.
In the wash.
So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I unfortunately don't have any. I don't have any showstopper things to talk about. It's been a pretty average week.
You brought the whole show down, but hey, it's somebody's birthday out there, and it's our number one guest or number one. What do you want to call her, Timmy? Give me something.
Number one family member.
Family member. There we go. So you can jump in, Jeff, if you want to. But here we go, guys. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
Mallory.
Happy birthday to you.
Yay.
And Mallory has just left the chat. No,
yes, Mallory, please save me a piece of cake, okay? Save me a piece of cake. Timmy.
Yeah.
You know what time it is?
Yes. I got a fair idea.
Music tonight? Would you like music?
Yeah.
You would like music. Okay. Hold on. Let me find the Feeding the Ducks. There it is.
Oh, yeah. Shaft. Actually, I need to come up with a better one. We need to come up with like our own. I got to quit robbing. Like Jeff's like, I'm out of here. He's like, I can't take all this Barry White stuff. So anyway, let's see. We might have a birthday in the chat. I think we just sang happy birthday, but how about a little hey everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wednesday night birthday show. Coming right to you here live at 7:16 p.m. on the East Coast here in wonderful downtown Hotlanta. Let's say hello to some beautiful people in the chat. Actually, the birthday girl was first in the chat. We got the wonderful Mallory Do It Your Damn Self Gates in the house. Happy birthday, Mallory. Happy birthday. Good to see you tonight. We got the wonderful Aaron Dwyer. I got to come up with a nickname for Aaron. Aaron, I'll come back to you on the loop around. I need something to bite on. So how about Aaron? You're about to have a nickname. Dwyer is in the house. Nice to see you, Aaron. Great to see you. Who else we got? We got our wonderful Rifle man. Got you in our sights. Rifle got you in my sights, man. Good to see you. We got our resident James R, the pirate, in the house. Good to see you, James. Who else? We got the wonderful Steve, Emoji King Tottenham, hanging out with us tonight. We got Michael, not from Redfern, in the house. Good to see you, Michael. How are you? We got Don Shirako Ayako. Good to see you, Don. How are you, brother? And we got Peggy. She already has a tag name.
Yes, she does.
Sig Source. Exactly, Peggy. You came prepared. You brought your pencil and paper. I hear David Lee Roth right now. He's speaking in my right ear. Who else we got in here? I think that's about it for right now. So good to see everybody here in the chat tonight. Now let's get to know Jeff. Enough of
Jeff. Jeff, we have some fun questions that we hit our new guest on the show. And the first one's a big one. So let me scroll down. I know what it is, but I got to scroll down to the questions so I don't mess these up. You ready? Because this is a big one. You may upset half the chat, and you may upset half the panel here. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Absolutely not.
Yes, baby. Yes.
Pineapple. The proper way to put. Have you ever seen the proper way to make pineapple pizza? Yes. The whole piece of pineapple has to be on the slice as it goes into the trash.
Yes.
So very true.
So very, very, very true. And your next question before we jump into the real questions, Jeff, your first job, and did you get fired or did you quit? He's thinking deep back.
Actually, I my first job was I was 12 years old and I worked for my neighbor that was a farmer.
Oh.
And in the summertime, we baled hay from sunup to sundown. My payment,
Wow.
I got a whopping 50 cents an hour.
Yep.
And all the lemonade I could drink.
Hell yeah!
Hey,
There
well,
you go.
a lot of our first jobs were like that.
Yeah. It was family.
Mowing lawns for $10 or whatever it was.
And so that was my first job. Then my second job was the local grocery store where I made $2.35 to stock shelves.
Nice.
There
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Go ahead.
And then I quit
And then
that.
you
Quit
quit.
that. All right. So yeah, see.
Did you quit in style, or did you just I quit? Did you throw your apron at them?
Yeah, sort of, because
See?
my boss was actually like back then it wouldn't have been ARC, but it kind of he was special needs, and he didn't like me.
Yeah.
So he would like pick on me, and I was like, you know what, I've had enough of you.
Yeah.
I was like, peace out. You do it yourself.
There you go.
So, but that was in 1988. So 87.
Mm-hmm.
No, 85.
85. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
a sophomore. I was a junior in high school. Are we all 50 on this panel? Is everyone 50 on this?
Everybody, yeah.
Oh,
definitely,
yeah, I'm only
definitely.
50.
Yeah,
dude.
Yep.
Michelle, go with it, Michelle. Go with it, Michelle. Go with it.
I have an AARP membership. That should give my age away.
Yeah, 50-cent tacos. You got the
Listen, you only get the ARP membership if you apply for it.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. They send that out to you when you turn 46. It's like, hey, you know, you're getting close, baby. You know,
It's like, really?
Want to get that 25-cent cup of coffee at McDonald's? You got to have this card. Jeff, tell us again. I know you did a little brief history of yourself during the show at the beginning of the show, but you're in both. You have two shops, one in Pennsylvania, correct, and the other one in Tennessee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we had three shops in Pennsylvania. Well, it's a long story, but right now we have three shops in Pennsylvania, one in Tennessee.
Nice.
So, and we have a kava bar in Florida.
Yeah.
Ah.
And yeah, you're in two states that I think have done really, really well with advocacy and promoting vaping and keeping stores open. I like to think so. Tennessee's was part of what Dimitri's deal, right? If I'm correct, it was a part
Yes, sir. Tennessee Smoke Free. We're members of Tennessee Smoke. So,
they've done great work.
Yeah. I'm not active in Tennessee Smoke Free. I'm not a resident, so I'm a member, not a so I'm not like a active board member, because you have to be a resident.
Right.
So, but Danny and Chris have done a great job. So, if you know who they are, Danny Gillen and Chris Lutz.
Yes. Yeah, we've had
So-
them on the show before.
We had them on, yeah, that's right, huh, Tim? Yeah, we've had them on the show.
We had them both on the show.
Yeah, yeah, both.
They do incredible work. So, but I am a member. We're a member of Tennessee Smoke Free. So, I was a member of Pennsylvania. Doesn't have really any advocacy organizations anymore. They're the 40% tax hit. Everybody lost 180 shops, I think, in 2016. Out of 350, about half of them closed in 16. Now you just have smoke. You have probably if I had to guess, 700 to 800 smoke shops and probably about 100 vape shops.
100 vape shops, yeah.
So,
that's what's happening here. Yeah, that's what's happening here. Actually, it was just the other day. There was a post. I live in Modesto, California. And there's a section of Modesto where it's just smoke shop, smoke shop, smoke shop, smoke shop. I mean, the whole block has just been taken over. It's kind of semi-out, just about 3 or 4 blocks outside of downtown. And a new group started here, which is funny. It's called Parents Against Smoke Shops in Modesto. And I started laughing. And the guy that's pushing to get these smoke shops closed is what do you call it? A developer. And that's prime real estate. So what best way to get rid of them than start an organization that wants to get rid of smoke shops? And so this guy can come in and take these buildings over, knock them down, and build, elaborate shopping centers and all this other nonsense. But we have maybe 2 legitimate vape shops that are still open here in Modesto, and they're really hurting because they have tobacco only flavors, supposedly. Go ahead, Timmy. I know you got.
I unfortunately, Jeff, I had not gotten a chance to meet you, and I had very little back information on you going into the show, so I did a little digging, and luckily you are out on the interwebs, so there is some old information still kind of hanging around. I found an article from the HeraldCourier.com back from 2017. It was an article about you opening up your establishment in Delavan. So it was an interesting article. Well, I guess my first question for you is,
that was right after the 40% tax in Pennsylvania. I moved back to New York.
Okay, all right. So, but you had said that you got started in 2009. That was your first shop in 2009.
2010. I started vaping 9.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I guess my first question would be, so you started in Pennsylvania, but you went back to New York. What has sort of been kind of the transgression for you in terms of the challenges in owning a vape shop? Just simply because I'm confident you got into this for all the right reasons. You found vaping, you found it as a success story for yourself. Was that your primary goal, to get into the vape industry from a business perspective, to try to help others to quit smoking?
So, a quick, I guess, more in-depth synopsis is, I had another business prior to vape shops. I did logistical transportation of cold food products. We had 7 warehouses. And ironically, I actually am licensed. Forgive me, I'm getting tired today. So
you've been driving a lot.
Yeah, I'm a licensed long-term administrator. I was administrator for a long-term care facility out of college. So. And it's a lifetime ago, 27, 30, 31 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and but I got into the cold food logistics, and I did that for about 15 years. And I discovered vaping in 09, and basically I was taking it to my office, and my employees were like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And this is like the old Cardo pens. Do you remember the Cardo pens?
That's how I started. Yeah.
And and I was like, little tin Cardo, and you had to punch the hole, and you got about maybe 80 puffs or 100 puffs out of it.
Yep.
Dripping a 5 ml bottle of juice on a generic Ego style pen. And basically, they were like, "Can you get me one?" And it turned to, the first week it was like I got 3 people one, and then it was like the next week I got 6 people one, and they wanted them for their friends and family, and I had a little tackle box, and then it ended up being a big tackle box, And the shop I went to was halfway between Buffalo and Rochester. You're still there?
Yeah, we're still here. We go.
Sorry. And I'm on my phone. I haven't done this in a little while, so I got a phone call. I just did end. But the guy was selling me 20% off of retail for wholesale price. And back then, that was when Ego Twist pen was $28 for a generic Ego 650.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, long story short, I started buying 5 at a time, to 10 at a time, to 30, 50, and I was buying, 100 bottles of 5 ml bottles of juice, and then C3s came around, which was game changing.
Yep.
And just long story, I started in the tackle box, and then my wife goes, you're selling more than your paycheck is, and I live on Canandaigua Lake. Nice. I'm about two hours from there. My wife convinced me to open up a shop in late 2010 in my little town.
Yeah.
And then New York was talking about, in the city, they were talking about banning flavors, and the county I was in, ironically, which happens to be my county health director, he's been there forever. He's been one of the instrumental people in banning flavors in New York State. He was part of the three-person panel that decided to ban flavors in New York. He was the lead person in it. So just happened to be my county health director. How wonderful. Dr. Kevin Watkins. So I'm sure you've heard that name before.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, when they started doing that, I was like, well, I'll get ahead of the time. I'll get ahead of the chance. And I was only there about a year, and I opened up in Warren, Pennsylvania. And I was there successfully from 2011 to 17. Paid the taxes when they did the 40% tax on everything.
Mm-hmm.
I had at the time. I had two stores, one in Warren and one in Bradford, Pennsylvania. And which are both like literally 5 minutes from the New York state line, just to let you know.
Right.
And when they put the 40% tax on everything, they could not, Pennsylvania Department of Revenue could not enforce online sales, and they could not enforce across border sales. New York did not have any taxes, did not have any restrictions. Pennsylvania did. So I immediately went from, if I bought a product, I had to pay the taxes on it. So like say at that time, a Sigali 150 was, I think, $100 wholesale, and then you had to pay the 40% tax on it.
Right.
So New York State was selling these devices, a vape shop was selling a device for $150. It was my cost after putting it on the shelf.
Right.
Yep.
And whatever the cost be, but New York, but online they were selling them, and everyone knows if you've had anybody's had shops,
Yeah.
they were always 30% cheaper than 30 to 40% cheaper than a brick and mortar.
Exactly.
So now I'm double what online stores are, and I'm a third more expensive than going down the road.
Right.
I was out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were selling the Sigali one. They were selling them here, or no, they were selling them for like $175 here, and I was just like, I looked at it and I was like, no, I can get it online for like $75, and I was like, a little shocked at the pricing, but convenience. If you want it now. You pay for it. You don't want to. You want to wait. Yeah, Michelle.
Well, even now.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, even now you can buy Geek Bars for $11 a piece, but every convenience store has them for $25.
Yep.
Michelle,
go ahead, Michelle.
Question for Jeff there.
You had mentioned, I'm going to change the subject just a little bit, but you had mentioned you had a bar or something in Florida. Where's that?
At one point we had two stores in Tennessee, and we closed the one down because we had it was in Dayton, Tennessee. Last year we closed it down because we had, I think, eight smoke shops or 9 smoke shops open up around us in a year and a half.
Wow.
And it's just not, I mean, a town of, if you're familiar with any rural towns, it's like a town of 15,000 people, and you just,
yeah.
I could throw a rock. I was telling a friend of mine today, I was like, actually Lindsay. Yeah, Lindsay. I could throw a rock to 3 of the smoke shops that opened up after we opened up. Yeah. From my front door.
Do you have one in Florida too?
We have a kava bar. We closed that down and we moved it to Sebring, Florida.
Okay, Sebring. Okay.
So, It's been open about 4 months now.
Oh, okay.
So are you dealing with Mr. Nick Orlando?
Oh, I know Nick well.
Yeah. He's
He's a
one of
good
our
guy.
favorite guests on our show.
Mhm.
Quick question for you, Jeff, because you've been doing this a long time. So I'm kind of curious, how much more educated is the customer today than he was, say, when you first opened up your shop? Well, I wouldn't go that far back because that's not fair, because everyone was just kind of learning. But let's just say, let's go back 10 years. How much more educated is the customer today, or are you still running into that? Are you still getting the newbie in there?
We do get some new people. I would say that want to quit smoking. Yes, we do. I mean, that's what we're here for. I mean, our store is my store is a hybrid where I have one separate area, which is the smoke shop, and then I have a whole nother area, like with a wall. You have to walk in. It's like another store.
Yeah.
That's a vape shop.
Right.
And I would say we still get people that want to quit smoking that come in and actually my manager is like, if I'm here, he's like, oh, you got lucky. You got one of the OGs, you know. He's like, he'll tell you more than you want to know. And I'm very, very bad at it. I'm very terrible at it. I can babble someone's ear off. However, I would say your average consumer now by far cares less about vaping than they did 10 years ago.
Okay. Would you say as far as the advocacy side of it, is it better today than it was 10 years ago? As far as the customer knowing what exactly is going on?
I don't think there's no difference. I don't think they cared 10 years ago or do they care now?
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know,
How
it's
about age?
what's that?
How about age? Are they getting older, younger? What? Your customers?
I would say
general.
my customers are definitely generational. I think that the ones that started vaping when they were 16 are now 22 and they're still vaping.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't see 16-year-olds. I mean, I didn't see 16-year-olds back then either, but
Right.
they still were getting the vapes. What I'm saying is I think my average consumer is over 21, obviously.
Right.
You know, do I think that kids still get vapes? Yes. But my customers are getting older because they're just getting older.
Right. Yeah.
I'm getting older. Do we have new consumers? I would say my new customers that are new consumers that come in, we still get 21, 22-year-olds, but no, I don't think as many. And I don't think I definitely don't think they care about vaping. They just want disposable and get the hell out the door. It's a whole different,
Yeah.
it's a whole different persona. It's a whole different demographic. Your older people, like I remember, you know, building coils, and I remember walking into vape shops, and I remember, you know, this, and I remember that. Your younger 25 and 21 to 25 or 27 to 21. They don't know. They don't remember it. They don't care. They don't give a shit. They don't.
Yeah.
They just don't know. I mean, they don't know anything about advocacy. They don't care.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, hell, you can't even get them to wash the dishes. So, or even get off their phones. You can't get them to eat their dinners.
Yeah.
So without being on the phone. So they have them take 10 minutes and actually pay attention to healthy. I mean, not smoking or what smoking. I mean, they don't know what smoking does.
Yeah.
I don't think your average 21-year-old knows the dangers of smoking.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of are a little oblivious to the world in a lot of ways. Like you said, they're so sucked up into their social media and, you know, just kind of the fatty, trendy kind of thing. You know, they don't seem to want to put a lot of focus on. And I dare say it's a political issue, but it is a bit of a political issue because, you know, we're having to fight the powers that be at the legislative level, you know, to try to preserve our rights to be able to stay off of cigarettes and continue with the thing that effectively saved our lives. But but I do think that we hold a large stake in the game because one of our core missions, you know, and I never worked for a vape shop directly. I'm more of just a consumer advocate in the sense that I found it back in, you know, roughly 2011 myself, you know, started with blues and all the dumb stuff that was out at that time. So I wouldn't consider myself you know, just a accidental quitter, but I was serious about trying to find something to take me away from cigarettes, and vaping was certainly that mechanism. But I think one of our core values in finding vaping was to help others to discover it as well. So I guess my question to you is what has been, I mean, other than the younger generation coming in and maybe not being a little bit more aloof, but do you see that trend with the 20, 21, and 22-year-olds? They're looking for a mechanism to get off of smoking, or it's just something that, you know, all my friends do it too, and it's just sort of something that we all enjoy doing. But now, and I'm old enough to at least buy it now.
To be honest with you, I haven't seen too many 21 or 20. I mean, most of them have been vaping since they were 16.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Their friends and family, I mean, straw purchases, they've come in and they've been getting them. I mean, the CDC and the FDA and any report you want to sit here and have people come on here and say, "Oh, youth vaping is down." I disagree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, you know, to me, I may be completely off track here, but I don't feel like the new generation of smokers are smoking for the same reason Tim and I did back in the 80s, where it was because our buddies are smoking and I want to look cool. I think today's newer smoker is smoking because it's an aid for something, whether it's to calm them down or to get them through school or to deal with social issues and stuff like that. I don't think this generation is smoking to be cool anymore. I think it's more to handle whether they have AHAD or whatever. I know I'm getting that wrong, but ADHD or I think that this generation is using smoking and vaping for a whole different reason than what we were doing in the 80s.
I think that your teens in school use vaping and the nicotine that vaping provides for the same reason that we use nicotine. It does its job. It does what it's supposed to do. It's just a different delivery system. I don't think they've ever known. A lot of them, you can't get a pack of cigarettes. I mean, a teenager can't get a pack of cigarettes.
Right.
Unless you
can get a
bodega in New York. Unless you go to a bodega in New York.
Yeah. Unless you go to a bodega in New York. But, I mean, just like a 7-Eleven, I mean, they'll sell you a vape way before they sell you a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Right.
You know. And I think it's just the stigma of it. It's like, okay, vape's better. It's like they don't. I think the tellers don't even think about it. They're like, oh, whatever, here you go.
It's,
you know, where a pack of cigarettes are like, wait a second, you're not 21. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's, you know, it's kind of like buying beer. I mean, it's easier to buy weed than it is to buy beer nowadays.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same concept. You know, but I think your teenagers, you know, still use it for what we, you know, I mean, there is stress in going to school. I mean, there's you have to learn.
I don't think the kids my generation in the 80s used it to get through school or get through a test or to stay awake. You started way fucking too early, Michelle. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, did. I started at 9, but that's
you started
why.
at 9, man.
That's why. That's exactly why. Right there. You know, and it's not good, but on the other hand, it worked. You know, so.
I got our fun question for you. This is a vape show, so I got a question about flavors, Jeff. Are you ready? If you could remove one popular flavor, which one would it be?
Enhancer or flavor?
A flavor, a solid flavor, yeah.
Menthol.
Menthol. Oh, thank God he didn't say mango, right? Right, Tim? Yeah, we get mango a lot.
The clutches of my hand.
And the reason I say menthol is menthol has been proven to destroy even in. I mean, there's facts. Menthol in cigarettes does actually burn the cilia in your lungs, and it does the same thing. It does the same thing when you're in vape. When you're vaping.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not good for you. I would eliminate that.
Right. Smart move on that one.
If you got 1 hour alone, all by yourself in the White House, what would you do, Jeff?
I love this question.
To be honest with you, I would probably seek out some of the files from the presidents. I would be very interested in reading the memoirs of George Washington and Lincoln and JFK.
Yeah.
I think I would enjoy that probably the most.
That's the best answer we've gotten. We've got some silly answers to that. We've got take one battery out of every single remote for the TV in there just to fuck with the president. We've got what else? Have sex in the Oval Office, run through the White House naked, make love to your girlfriend on the Lincoln bed. We've had some weird ones, so you came out with the best answer.
Yours was the most historical.
Yeah, it was the most historical. Well, we had what's his name that said he would look for the tunnels, JFK's tunnels. That I would do. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, think about it. I mean, wouldn't you want to know if JFK really did everything that he said he did, or if Lincoln?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be kind of cool to know. I mean, I'd like to know if there's really aliens. You know what I mean? That
yeah.
I mean, that's in their memoirs.
And it's redacted when we get to look at it. It's just got the black lines, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's redacted. You can't see that.
But something like that, yeah. That's I think that would be probably. I don't think an hour is enough time.
Yeah. Last one here, before we jump back into real questions. If you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends and family assume you've done, Jeff?
Not been very cooperative with the police officers. I would say you have to remember. I live in New York, and the state troopers are really glorified tax collectors, and they don't. I mean, I've traveled a lot of states, driving through a lot of states in this country, and New York ours is by far the worst to pull you over and write you a ticket for anything. So
exactly.
I mean, you can go in Pennsylvania and Ohio, which are border states of New York, is a great example. I could challenge you anytime you could drive into Pennsylvania. There is not 2 state troopers at the line, like on any major highway, waiting for you to cross the line to pull you over.
Yeah. Now the state trooper is like the highway patrol, right? We have out in Cali. Okay.
On any given day in New York State, I mean, that's really kind of their MO, is they will sit at the border, like on the interstates.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them at any given time.
Yeah.
In New York, and they're welcome to New York. We're pulling you over for speeding.
And there's like a discrepancy right there too. It's like you're in Ohio, it's 65. As soon as you come into Penn, it's 55, and you're not paying attention, and then bam, ticket.
Well, you get away with 12 miles over. So
you guys 12, huh?
Well, Pennsylvania, it's 65 in New York, and you can get away with it's 70. I'm sorry, 70 in Pennsylvania, 65 in New York.
Yeah.
So you can get away with 12 to 11 over. So you can go 81, 82, 75 in New York, 75, 76.
Right.
You cross the line, they're sitting right there.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah. They just did that.
As a truck driver, I know all about that Arizona-California border for truck drivers. So I've been dealing with those people for 20 fucking years. Jeff, who's up? I forgot. Is it
You.
Is it me?
Or Michelle? One of the two.
Is me.
Sorry, my battery is dying on my phone, so I have to go charge it.
Yeah, go ahead and charge that up. Yeah, go charge it up. I
just got connected.
I have, where is it? I'm going to put it in a chat. Copy and private chat there for you, sir. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. I think it's in there. Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah.
It is in there.
Sorry about the glare.
No worries. We'll wait for you to plug your phone in so that way we don't lose you.
Okay.
That's not bad. That's a good picture.
There you go. Much better. And in your shops, in both your shops or all your shops, whether they're in Pennsylvania or in Tennessee, you're able to sell all flavors. There's no law that says you can't have flavors on your shelf, right?
Nope. Everything 40% tax in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you got the tax. Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering. I don't know if there was any regulations banning certain brands into your shops or anything like that. Yeah, that's the only question I had for you because I wasn't sure. I noticed that some states or some distributors are not shipping to certain states. You're not running into any of those issues whatsoever, correct?
Some of my distributors I know will not ship into New York because of the flavor bans, which is really weird to me because there's more smoke shops selling flavors like probably just like you, John, in California. Yeah. They have a back room. So do they do that in California?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, you get the oh hey John, and I got this for you shelf in the back. Yeah, and they're only going to do that for certain people. I don't want to disclose the shops that are doing it for me, but yeah, there's a few of them that are.
Oh no! In New York, they have. I mean, they'll have a warehouse like they have iPads just sitting on the counter. Tobacco on the shelf, but they'll have an iPad with thousands of disposables in the back room.
Yep.
Thousands of e-liquid, bottles of e-liquid flavored everything. It's just they can't see it.
Yeah,
in New York, you can't. They can't. They need a search warrant to go into the back room.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the health department will come in. Oh, I don't see anything. Oh, you're good. Oh, if they see the health department, they just put the iPad down and I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Disposable what? No, I'm kidding.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Michelle, or is it Timmy? I don't know. Who's one of you two?
Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. I was wondering, I live in Florida and we don't see kids vaping, period. We really don't. I mean, there are some, but there's if they're vaping, it's usually THC. As far as old people though, here in Florida, because of our ratios, I'm sure what we see is a bunch of older people vaping. Do you see more older people that are starting to vape?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We have, I would say, just in general with the shops, I mean, I would think that our average consumer, actually, let me ask my managers right here. Hey, Zach?
Yeah.
What's our average consumer, our average customer age? 35?
Honestly, we're pretty well mixed. I have anywhere from 21 all the way up to...
Yeah, we're all across the board.
60s, late 70s, early 70s.
Yeah, wow. We're across the board. We get a pretty big spectrum.
Yeah.
That's why it was so hard for me to answer. I was like, I don't know, everybody? Like, we get everybody.
Yeah.
It's got to feel great to have a 70-year-old walk in and vaping, and that's got to be awesome, because that's that generation that honestly is like one of the hardest to convert.
That's what I see.
Yeah,
That's the ones I see more of is older people, older than 50, which is great. I love it, to see a 70-year-old walking around. Some of them have the vape pens, some of them still use cauterizer, but a lot of them, most of them are using elf bars or something, it's just
we get a lot of older people have been converted using disposables, which is very much what's the word I want to use? It's
convenient.
No, not catch-22. What's it when it's like it's good but bad at the same time?
Right.
What's that term?
An oxymoron. No.
It's like an oxymoron, that type of thing. And it's like, we all hate disposables because the children have them, get hold of them.
Yeah.
But they're so convenient and so simple to use that they're converting grandma and grandpa from smoking. So what do?
Yeah, it's tough because you got to keep in mind that generation too. They're not going to want to re-wick an RDA. They're not going to want to fucking deal with leaking. They're not going to want to do. They have arthritis. They can't get tops off of the. So for them, I get the convenience. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I knew my mom. She literally couldn't open a jar.
Right.
And the jar could be half open already for her, but she just couldn't twist that thing. And I was thinking the same thing when I would watch her do. I was like, well, this is why, that generation of older people are making that transition, because there are some factors. There's a learning curve when it comes to open source systems and dealing with, making sure you can get coils and doing all this other stuff and refilling them and all that other nonsense. And of course, they made them more difficult some companies have made them a little easier to refill and to keep spillage from happening while you're refilling them. But 5-6 years ago, maybe even more, like 10 years ago, I think and don't get mad at me, but I think if disposables were around as heavy as they are today, I think we could have moved that older generation into the vaping world a little bit easier and quicker, knowing that they had this convenience of a disposable at their hands, just for the factor of simplicity and not having to to deal with what 70-year-old wants to carry a 30 ml bottle of juice around with them,
right?
And batteries and an extra coil and all this other. They're not.
Well, but now you say no. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You got it, Jeff.
So, but now you're getting that conundrum questions of what does China actually have? I mean, it's a step process. Everything comes from China,
right?
Yeah.
So when they released and introduced the 200 puck disposable, they already invented the 500 puck disposable.
Yeah.
And then when the 500, but it wasn't just the 500. They already had the 1,000, the 1,500, the 2,000, the 2,500, the 5,000, the 10,000, so on and so forth. Now they have we've gotten up to what, 40,000 now. I think a lot of devices are out there.
Yeah, I've had 30s. I haven't gotten to a 40 yet.
Yeah, there's 40s out there, and the new thing that's going to be coming, if you haven't seen them, is the adjustable nicotine, adjustable ice, and adjustable sweetener.
I haven't seen that, but what I did see today was from Oxbar. Just because we have conversations about disposables quite a bit, and it was part and parcel with a question I had for you. But we talk about disposables. I was sort of like an anti-dispo guy. Like I was just like, I don't feel that. I mean, I got a wall of stuff behind me. Everything from regulated to unregulated to mechanical. The whole nine. But I ended up having to go on a trip about earlier this year, and I was like, I just don't want to travel with all that stuff. I don't want to have to take a charger. I don't want to deal with batteries, remove 18650s, any of that stuff. So I actually, for the first time, walked in and bought disposables. And then we have these conversations about it all the time because, you know, now as they're like the geek bars that are coming out now, they got the fancy screens on them with all the flash and the stuff. And you think to yourself, well, God, once it's gone and it's empty, I'm just throwing all, like, what's the point of putting all this technology into something that I'm just going to throw away anyway? But Oxbar,
I was gonna say, you see, like the ones I have, they can use them as a phone and a time clock and
exactly.
and you can watch videos on them. It makes you wonder. You're like, I paid $1,800, $2,000 for my cell phone, and I'm buying a disposable for $15 that does all this.
Exactly. So, the
technology. You know, it makes you feel like you got ripped off.
It does, and while, you know, gadgets are cool and stuff like that, I just really can't find any value for me. But I was going back to what I found today was from Oxbar, and I believe it's called the SVVPO. It had some weird name to it, but now what they're doing is the battery is removable from the tank. So now you just go and you just buy the refills, and then you just snap in the battery component and the regulator part of it into the flavor tank, and they're like 30, I believe they're 30K puffs and stuff like that. I guess where I see value there is if people want to go the disposable route, you know, at least you have something that will, you know, sustain for a while. So, you know, but my question to you is how has your vape journey transformed since, say, 2009? I mean, a lot of us got started with like you said, the little Cardos and stuff like that. We remember we had the USB thing. We could plug it into our computer out of just a wire. You fill up the tank. Like, where has your journey led you along the way? Did you go through all the amalgams like the rest of us, where you started with like the crappy Cigalikes and you got into the mechs and the regulated stuff and all that? And where do you find yourself today? Are you still a little bit more of an old school vapor, or are you just kind of like we've all kind of migrated to disposables a little bit, maybe too much?
One, I'm a purist. And I sell disposables because I have to.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely of the purist. Where'd you go?
We're here. We're on the side. That's the device I was just explaining. So if you look at it, you see the actual battery and circuitry comes off the one side, and it just kind of slides and snaps in. So you just buy the tanks again. I can only find Canadian distribution right now.
Yeah, there's no U.S. distribution.
So you still old school it then? Still.
Yeah. Well, I have I'm still freebase 50 watts.
Yeah.
So I've gone through I had at one point I had in one of my shops I had a 20-foot rebuildable bar. Friday nights I had 100 people coming out the door, standing to get making juice, doing MTO. I had 4 people in store, and I was in the back just making orders.
Yeah.
And I mean, doing mech mods and teaching battery safety. Not telling, we had cloud comps, we had the whole nine. We went from Ego. I went from Ego, selling Ego C3s, C4s, T3s. The Aspire Nautilus. Yeah, it was T3 Nautilus, and then it was the Aspire sub-ohm tank there. I always forget the name of it. What's the name of that tank?
The old Kangers, or the baby beasts and stuff like that, the TFV 14, 16s.
Yeah, but there's the Aspire. What was it was the first sub-ohm tank, the Aspire one. That was Game Changer.
John would remember. The Nautilus tank?
Not the Nautilus. That's not sub-ohm.
Atlantis?
No, that was the next one. It was the one in between.
John, do you know the one we're talking about? The Aspire's first sub-ohm tank.
Oh, the sub-ohms. Well, there was.
Wasn't that a Kanger tech?
No, Aspire had the first sub-ohm tank.
Okay.
It's
The Clito?
maybe I don't think this. I keep getting old.
Right there.
I'm just going through all the amalgams of their sub-ohm tanks. You got the Clito.
The
You
Pro.
got the
No,
I'm looking.
it was
What's that? That looks.
the Atlantis. Maybe it was the Atlantis.
Right,
I feel like the Atlantis was one of the first ones that I kind of.
It was first, and then Kanger came into the game with with theirs. Atlantis, I think Atlantis was their first one, and that's with you could still get coils for that stupid thing. I mean,
yeah. And then there was the Clito. Then there was the Clito, and a bunch of other ones. But yeah, that was game changing with as far as like building coils, and we had the drill presses, and you drill out the holes and all your different cloned RDAs and stuff like that.
Yep.
Rewrapping batteries. I mean, I did all that. I'm glad I don't do it anymore. It was very. It was. We practice safety, but I don't know if consumers practice safety.
Yeah.
Right. I know you guys know all that stuff, but for me, that was too much. I mean, that was back when I didn't understand all that stuff, and it made it very difficult. And then if there's nobody there that can help you, when you're standing there at your kitchen sink messing with it, it seems easy to you guys because, y'all know all that
We're
stuff.
men. We're men.
But to a woman, it's like, I don't know what, I don't understand this, So it was hard for a girl, back then. If you didn't have somebody right there with you to show you.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Know?
It was the same for me when I made my transition to building my own coils. To be honest, if it wasn't for Rip Trippers, I don't think I would have ever built my first coil and known how to build my first coil, because he just made it simple. He had great camera angles. He explained it in good detail. If I hadn't had that YouTube channel, I don't think I would have ever jumped into making coils.
Did you ever get dry knuckles too?
Yeah, no, I didn't get no dry knuckles though. No, I didn't get no dry knuckles. After he got a little crazy, he was a little bit off base. But in the very beginning, I think he was a big improvement and a big reason a lot of people went into making coils. I think his videos were in great detail. He had great cameras that he was always using, so he made it really simple to learn how to make it. From your basic coils. Now, as far as even I'll even give him credit for the what do you call it, coil? Oh my god, dang it!
Aliens,
not the aliens, the Claptons. Learning how to make a Clapton for the first time was with him. I learned to make the Clapton coil because of him. I don't think I've ever would have attempted to buy all that wire and get into doing it. But yeah, I can understand where Michelle's saying. Is each transition, I think we've all gone through those transitions. I'm Tim as well. I'm sure you've made a few coils yourself.
Absolutely.
just to give it a try. And I use this a lot, but I still use my other devices. I still use my Geek vape and unfortunately my what is that damn thing? The door won't stay closed, so I threw that into the wall, and I was done with it. It's Brian's device. You know which one I'm talking about. Every time I set it down, the door pops open. So I finally given up on that. But I still build my own coils.
Top side,
that fucking thing. The top side. Here it is.
I have one that has electrical tape on the bottom.
No, I'm not putting tape on my shit. Yeah, I'm not putting tape on my shit. If it doesn't stay closed, it gets thrown up against. I have 3 of them, and all 3 of them are doing it. So
hey guys,
yeah,
and you have to forgive me. For some reason my charger is not charging my phone, and I have nothing here.
Okay,
that's okay.
So, I'd be more than happy. I mean, I'm literally at 3%, so I wanted to let you know.
That's okay.
But
Come back anytime. We'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, I don't know if it's next week. I mean, I'll have a little bit more time, or I'll make sure my phone's charged next week. So
absolutely, yeah, we got time.
No
We'd love to have you back.
We're glad we got to meet you and get to know you a little better on the show. And you are always welcome back on the show anytime.
So, all right, thank you guys. John, you do have something coming.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for that. And we will be reviewing them here on the show. And I promise Lindsay will be on the show when I review the liquids.
You guys have a great night.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
I was gonna hit her up, but she's house hunting, so I don't want to bother her when she's house hunting. Lindsay's busy trying to buy a house. So, Timmy.
Yeah.
Where's that? Yeah, we have the article on blah, 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 boom, boom, blah,
Well,
blah,
here,
blah,
let's
blah.
just get right into it. Hold on one second. So I will share with everyone. Let me
Europe
present.
Commission's target vaping in new smoke-free recommendations. That is
Hold
the
on.
title.
I'll get you there in just a second.
It's our favorite article writer, Mr. Jim McDonald.
Mr. Jim McDonald. So the European Commission targets vaping in new smoke-free recommendations.
Dun, dun,
Okay.
dun.
Well, so we always kind of felt like the European that side of the pond was a little bit more in the corner of vaping. I know it's kind of a mixed bag over there, right? I mean, like not all the European countries are big subscribers to vaping. They're not big subscribers to it. But it says here, if the European Commission has its way, European Union member states will treat public vaping the same as smoking and restrict it in almost exclusively to private residences. Well, shocker. I mean, why does that come as any particular surprise? I mean, we already have to fall in line with this particular type of behavior anyway. So, but this is basically saying, you can still use it in your house. You just can't do it in the mall. You can't do it in the office. But I've been to several, I wouldn't say several, but I've been to over to Europe, and I never saw anybody being that, kind of ignorant and just sort of vaping where somebody may or may not want it to be. According to the EU's executive arm, the use of vapes and heated tobacco products poses risks of significant respiratory and cardiovascular problems. Today, the Commission released new smoke-free environments recommendations for policies adopted by the 27 EU member states. The Commission urges members to adjust their laws to include vaping under existing smoking restrictions and to impose new rules on public vaping as well as combustible tobacco smoking. The new recommendations, which the Commission says are intended to better protect people from the effects of secondhand smoke and aerosols, emphasis added, don't carry the force of law, but encourage and pressure EU members to pass vaping restrictions that meet the Commission's standards. Nicotine consumers were ignored during consultations. Shocker there too, right? The European Commission is notoriously antagonistic to vaping and is closely tied to vaping prohibitionists at the World Health Organization and other public and private groups that refuse to acknowledge the evidence that vaping is an overwhelmingly positive public health development. The scientific basis for the Commission's policy advice to member states relies on multiple WHO documents and studies from slanted scientists. There are always snakes in the grass, including a debunked paper by former University of California, San Francisco professor Stanton Glantz that suggests vaping and smoking are almost equally dangerous. The Commission's recommendations were adopted after an under-publicized month-long 2022 public consultation. It got 207 responses and targeted consultation activities with stakeholders. Consumer Advocacy Consortium, European Tobacco Harm Reduction Advocates, replied to the Commission in 2023 with a detailed explanation of why it is wrong to lump products that don't emit smoke with those that do, but ETHRA's arguments fell on deaf ears, as with most of the arguments that with all the and great points that can be made to the positive. But I just be honest for a minute. I mean, again, I saw. When I was over in Europe, everybody, like, people didn't smoke inside bars. People didn't smoke at other public, there was no smoking in restaurants, things like that. It seemed like all the smokers / vapors, we all were kind of cattle herded to specific areas that where we were allowed to smoke, couldn't smoke, kind of, near doorways and things of that nature. So, why this now seems so groundbreaking is a little, I'm missing the point here. I never really saw any misbehavior in the sense that would say, oh, people just were vaping all over the place or smoking, and like, Jesus, I wish can't do that back in America. The next year could be worse. A TPD battle over flavors and more. So first they kick you out the door onto the street corner. Now they're coming for your flavors. The recommendation says the commission are geared towards protecting children from vapor and smoke, including vapor from nicotine-free products. If member states follow the recommendations, vaping will be banned in indoor workplaces, okay, indoor public places, okay, public transport, okay, outdoor recreational areas, including public playgrounds, amusement parks, swimming pools, and zoos. Now, to ban it in those particular situations, even still, like even at like amusement parks, stadiums.
Oh man, even zoos? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it seemed like there was always a place where you could go, and it was sort of formally accepted that this was an okay area to do whatever that habit happened to be.
But the panda bears love it when I'm vaping. They love seeing that,
especially if you have bamboo vape flavors. they love bamboo vape flavors. Outdoor or semi-outdoor areas next or close to an establishment, including outdoor spaces of restaurants, bars, and cafes. Outdoor or semi-open areas related to public transportation, including bus, tram, and train stops and airports. Outdoor areas associated with workplaces. Outdoor areas of hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes, because we know that the doctors and the nurses they totally don't vape or smoke.
No, no. Here in Modesto,
they're the most health conscious people in the world, and they would never touch the stuff. I think more medical people probably smoke than people really realize.
No, here in Modesto, maybe somewhere else, but here in Modesto, the last time I was at the hospital, my uncle was in there. They have to go all the way to the sidewalk by the bus stop, and they were all vaping. Maybe out of 20, 25 people that were there, maybe 3 were actually smoking cigarettes, but every single other one of them was vaping and then vaping a device. I was like, it sucks that you have to go all the way to the sidewalk in 115, 118 degree weather, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, so what's the verbiage read here? I mean, so you can't. Are they basically saying if you're out the outdoor area of educational facilities or including universities, does that mean that you're not even allowed to vape or smoke outdoors at these places, or the ban is limited to these particular areas? Meaning, they would potentially set up smoking areas that might be far enough away to make most people comfortable, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, let's just keep going. The commission also urges governments to consider banning vaping and smoking in private cars. What? It's my car. I paid for it with my good money. Right. So thank you, Mallory. So that basically that you can't smoke or vape in those particular areas.
Yeah, just like on hospital grounds. You cannot smoke on hospital grounds, so you have to go all the way to the sidewalk.
Right. Carrying. Oh, so here. Sorry, didn't finish the sentence.
Tim.
Banning vaping and smoking in private cars carrying children and vulnerable people. Okay, so we've talked about that, and I kind of feel like that's reasonable, just given the nature of your passenger. In outdoor spaces like stadiums and in outdoor areas adjacent to buildings with heavy foot traffic like shopping mall entrances. The recommendations don't include restrictions on the use of cooking oil, the burning of coal and oil for energy, or the use of combustion engines. Yeah, of course, because I'm just going to back into the entrance of a hospital and then just lay on the gas pedal in neutral for about an hour. And if they want to try to kick me out, I'm going to go that you don't have a rule that doesn't say I can't say I can't do it here.
Rules.
All of which cause life-threatening harm to many more people than secondhand smoke. Secondhand e-cigarette, vapor, or aerosol has not been proven to cause any ill health effects, yet it would be treated as though more dangerous than known causes of heart and lung disease. The smoke-free environments recommendations, while disturbing, may just be a warm-up for next year's revision of EU Tobacco Products Directive, TPD. Many consumer and industry advocates expect European anti-vaping advocates to propose an EU-wide vape flavor ban and possibly outright prohibition of nicotine pouches. Really? It's like, how does a pouch have secondhand anything?
The spit,
unless I spit it in your face or something like that, or we play some kind of a drinking game, where somehow it goes from me to you in some weird way. While no European country has an outright vape ban, 8 EU countries have already passed laws prohibiting most vape flavors. Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, the Netherlands, and Slovenia. Spain recently completed a public consultation on proposed flavor restrictions, and health ministers from multiple EU member states have expressed support for an eventual EU-wide flavor ban. Well, good thing the UK Brexited and got out of the EU, right? They're not part of the European Union anymore. I don't know how, is this a setup for like what they're claiming is that this is just a precursor to more restrictive things? I think if you just have general, this kind of, for me, kind of goes to that whole place where we say, well, look, all we're really looking to do is establish some kind of sensible regulation that everyone can agree to. As long as I still have access. Hey, Kiki, how's it going? Hey, microwave oven in the house. As long as people have access to that particular item, which helps them to stay away from smoking or get off of smoking, that's really what we're wanting access to. If it means I can't vape at the zoo, or I can't vape in a stadium or something like that, I think most reasonable people can learn to accept concessions of that nature, just based on what's at stake here, right? I mean, what are they really trying to do? They're not saying they're going to take it from you or you can't get it. You just can't do it here.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you on that. I think it's a slippery slope, and I don't trust people at this point.
Well, that's why I'm making the point. I mean, if this is all just a generalized precursor to an EU-wide ban, then it does become the slippery slope. But I think that's the one thing that we as vapors and as advocates have never been afforded, is the ability to sit down across the table from regulators and have a sensible conversation and say, look, we're not trying to fight you tooth and nail unless you're talking about taking it away. But if you want to have some regulations put in place as far as restrictions on where it can be, or who can buy it, or where we can get it from, that's something that we can work with you on that and go, okay, that's reasonable. We can agree to that. But if you go beyond that, because now we're talking about the fact that now you're saying you want to take our flavors away. It's like John and I've talked before when we say, if you let them take it this far, it's just they'll take one more step, as soon as you turn your back. Let's just take one more thing and one more thing and one more thing and one more thing. Well, I hope, I don't know what to really say about stuff like this, because I feel like there's not, like, how much of a fight are you really going to be able to put up against this?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to justify being able to vape on public transport?
Yeah. Well, to me, it's a perfect example. Is now this was when I was a smoker, so I'm going to go way back here to when they opened AT&T State. Well, it was Pacific Bell Park back then when they opened it, where the Giants play in San Francisco. And I got bleacher seats, first game of the season there with a brand new park. And I knew I couldn't smoke, but I needed to know where the smoking areas were in the stadium. And of course, the smoking area was right there by the bleacher section. And it was, I'm not kidding you, it was maybe, and it was poorly placed because it was right in the tunnel as you come into the bleacher section. So to me, putting it there, number one, is just going to piss people off because they got to walk past it.
Yep.
It was exactly 4 feet wide by 8 feet wide. And I'm thinking to myself, how are you going to put 20 people in here? How are you going to put there? And the guy kept pushing me back over the line, the yellow line. You need to be on the other side of the yellow line. I go, is there imaginary wall here blocking my cigarette smoke from getting out to the open stadium?
Right.
Yeah.
And he just kept pushing me back. No, you guys, and there was just like 30, 40 of us piled in this little area. And I just said, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth me standing here looking like an idiot, trying to stay inside this yellow box, and you guys pretend like no smoke, nothing is coming past this yellow line. It just made absolutely this invisible fucking yellow line is there. It just made me laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, just some of the policing around it just seems sort of asinine, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, like fine, I'll stand behind the yellow line, but whatever's coming out of my mouth is extending well beyond that yellow line. So I don't, I'm not sure. I mean, and we're talking 1 foot over the line. We're not talking like you were halfway walked back to the bleachers, and still huffing and puffing on your way. So
and I grew up, Tim, too. I'm sure Tim's been to many baseball games as a kid where there was 15 to 30 people sitting around you smoking a cigar and a cigarette.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Football games
and nobody
downtown.
had a problem with that.
No, I mean, it's kind of ironic that you think about having to go back in life a little bit, but I mean, I actually, when I was old enough to actually have them, that you could still smoke on a plane.
Yeah,
Like
Right.
like all the way in the back, and stuff. It had the little ashtrays and the armrests and stuff like that. And I'll be quite honest with you though, even though it was kind of crazy that I was still around where you could do that, and I did do it. I can't tell. I felt bad. I felt bad doing it because I'm like, I'm sitting here in a canister. You know what I mean? And I'm all the way in the back. I just, I did feel a little bit bad. Sitting, I felt a little embarrassed. I was trying to like blow it down or blow it to the side and not, but at the time, I was like, I was all about the cigarettes at that point.
I get it. I mean, look, I don't want to be eating while someone's smoking. I think there are places where vaping and smoking don't belong. But when you start pushing those boundaries outside and open areas, where it just doesn't make any sense to me, I get it. You don't want to smell it. We'll walk around it. Don't walk through it. I'm coming out here to smoke because I can't smoke indoors. Now you're coming outside and you're bitching that you have to smell my smoke. And I'm like, well, wait a minute here. There's got to be a little give and take here. How far away you want me,
when somebody tells me, something about, e-cigarette is harmful or something like that, or oh, that stinks, and thinks I'm not going to say something, I'll just say, well, you ought to try walking behind you in your perfume. I'm sorry, but I can't help it.
Jimmy's doing the mime. Yeah, I should have did that. I would have probably got kicked out of the stadium microwave. Yeah. It's gotten to that point. And, like in San Francisco, one of the very first laws, and I thought it was a good law because it does make sense. And again, I want to have some respect for the person that doesn't smoke when I was a smoker. And I understood that people didn't want to smell it. And one of the very first laws I remember in San Francisco was you weren't allowed to smoke within 25 feet of a door into a business. That was one of their first ones. And I got that. That made sense to me, as a smoker. I knew that I didn't like people smoking in my house, and I wouldn't want anybody smoking in my business either. So I got that. But when they started pushing it further and further away, and it's just like, now, where am I standing? Am I okay now on public roads? Do I need to stand on the street? Do I need to be on across the street? Do I need to be in the field? Where am I going in San Francisco to have a cigarette, or a vape for that matter? Now, the next article is kind of a little bit about what we just talked about, Tim, but kind of on on our land, or what do you want to call it, on our state, our city, no, it would be our country. I'm sorry.
Oh, so it's not EU related, is what you're trying
No,
to
it's
say.
not EU rated.
Yeah.
It's closer to
Okay,
home.
hold on.
Closer to home. There we go. It's closer to home.
All right, hold on. All right, let's get into to Rocky River. We're gonna get into Rocky River, Ohio.
Ohio.
I'm not familiar with that area. Hold on, let me make it a little bit bigger. I did live in Sandusky, but I have no idea where. I have no idea where Rocky River, Ohio is.
Click the X on the bottom right hand corner.
Yeah, all the ads are just crazy. All right, so vaping article is entitled "Vaping and Smoking Ban on Public Property Approved in Rocky River."
There you
So
go.
in Rocky River, Ohio, the Rocky River City Council approved a ban on smoking and vaping tobacco and marijuana products on city-owned public property on Monday. The ban now makes smoking and vaping off limits inside and outside of these properties, and includes the lawns and sidewalks adjacent to them. It also includes public parks, pavilions, public parking spaces, and sports parks. We're always looking out on the horizon to make sure we make our citizens happy and we accommodate what their concerns are. Rocky River Law Director Michael O'Shea said, "You can't smoke inside of any public facilities, duh. So we thought we'd extend the prohibition to places like our parks and areas where people congregate outside, and to kind of broaden the ban. The band. Well, yeah, you can broaden the band all you want. Who's in the band? What band are we going to go see?
What band are we seeing?
Kind of broaden the ban a little bit so that folks that don't smoke can enjoy our parks."
I like that. Just a little bit, Tim. Not a lot, just a little bit.
Not a lot, just a little bit. To be clear, this doesn't ban smoking and vaping on all city sidewalks. It's just the sidewalks adjacent to public property. It also doesn't include the roads, O'Shea noted. No one would get in trouble for smoking or vaping in their car while driving. However, this new update to the city's ordinance will result in a misdemeanor charge if anyone is cited. So if you live in Rocky River, Ohio, just know you're a criminal if you're vaping. You're a criminal if you're vaping too close to a public area.
So that's going to include any city hall, jail, any building that's owned by the city. You will not even be able to smoke on the sidewalk. You'll have to go to the street, Tim, to the street with the cars. That's not dangerous at all.
I mean, I think while I kind of understand their angle on this particular stuff, I think that when you get into the idea of public parks of any kind, like, for example, we have tons of public parks here in our general area. And now I don't know what their vaping and smoking policies are going into those parks. But what I'm saying is, like, I have never seen like a park ranger or a park official or a police officer of any kind walking the trail or hiding behind a tree or, sitting there like laying in wait like a tiger looking for somebody who's smoking or vaping. So I would say, while they can have these particular policies, you're at your own risk. If you get caught, you could get slapped with a misdemeanor charge. I'm just thinking some of these things are very difficult to completely police in the first place, unless it's in areas where it's more condensed, like it's a smaller park where there are no trails or walking paths. And, like, for example, you go to watch the intramural softball games that are being played there, or people just like to go and hang out on a lawn area, just for social atmosphere. I could see those being maybe a little bit more controlled or, under a little bit more scrutiny, just having, people that, work in that area. But I just think it's completely impossible to police these things. Like we go walking every now and again to some of the public parks close to here. You're back on a trail deep in the woods. Like, you run into one dude who's huffing and puffing and running by you. He doesn't even look at you. You know what I mean? Like he he doesn't give a damn. He's
If you were
lucky.
vaping, he'd get on his cell phone and call the authorities.
No, they don't. People don't really seem to give a rat's ass. But again, I kind of go back to the whole argument on any of this stuff, and I'm like, I'm not surprised by this stuff, but I worry that these things just lead to escalate to more regulation, and again to further bans and things of that nature. And I don't know if these are just steps, or they're just at that point they've set these boundaries, and then they're just looking for people to be ignorant to them so they can go, oh well, we got to get rid of it now. We told them no smoking in the park, but they're still doing it, so let's just take it away.
Oh, we got a Florida story.
I'm sorry?
I said I have a Florida story.
Do you? Oh, no. The thing that bothers me is you've got these stories and you've got people and you've got rules and all this, but when it comes down to it, none of it is hard or bad or harmful to anyone.
Yeah.
So why not just tell the truth to people and then make your laws? Because if it's not really bad for anybody, in my opinion, who cares?
Right.
It's like me standing next to someone who's drinking. Well, I can smell the beer, I can smell the liquor. They're harming themselves, but they're not harming me.
Yep.
So just tell the truth to begin with, and then all these stupid laws doesn't need to go into effect, and people would see that. But to me, this is just another underhanded way of, we're going to get them on this, and then we're going to get them a little bit further next year, and then we're going to do this next time,
Yeah.
So,
this is just a way of looking good to their constituents. I can get that word out.
And there's no need for it to begin with, if people would just tell the facts.
Well, that's right. But I mean, we certainly can't trust our officials to tell the truth and put information out there, because they would rather pander to the constituent who takes the issue with it, right? So if you've got people complaining, about these particular things openly, then they're going to look at that as a potential constituent that they would lose, that would put them in a situation to maybe lose that seat, so that they can't, they can't remain in power. But then I think that argument is equal on the other side. I just don't think there's enough of us to really combat that, right? So what I'm saying is, if that that city councilman or that governor or whatever, it decides to side against vaping and impose bans or restrictions that seem too intense, a little too stringent for us, then why if you're not going to support me in some way, shape, or form, why am I going to vote for you either?
Yep.
I mean, you kind of 6 in one and half a dozen the other. Well, then, but John, I know you got another article, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to basically the two articles that we just talked about, right?
Okay.
So let's talk about. I'll just share the title, and you guys will know what I'm talking about.
Dun, 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 dun.
So if they take one thing from you, they're effectively going to take another thing from you, and I think this all culminates in one particular thing: is that if your main goal in the end is to take it away for the multitude of reasons you think you need to take it away, whether you believe that it's dangerous, whether you believe that it harms people secondarily, whether you believe that it's affecting the kids, and the kids are getting their hands on the stuff and it's not good for them, and this is what happens when you take that stuff away. So this article is written by Roger Bate earlier this month. De facto prohibition on vaping drives massive illicit market. So in the end, you ban it, it's still going to be there. So we all know that smoking kills, and many smokers know that switching to vaping is the best way to get their nicotine fix without the cancer risks of burning tobacco. The UK government is so convinced that vaping is the best off-ramp from smoking that they've sent vaping kits to more than 1 million smokers. But the U.S. regulator, the Food and Drug Administration, has failed to give regulatory approval to the vaping products consumers want. The result has been an influx of illicit Chinese products of uncertain quality. In a recent analysis of vaping packs discarded in several U.S. states, 97% were illegally imported. That's a lot.
Yeah, Damn.
97%.
Only 3% of the people are actually following the law.
and vapors worldwide.
Yeah.
Like maybe we could do a little something. And I'm not saying protect the illicit vape, makers or the unregulated imported vapes coming in. But maybe if we didn't throw our shit on the ground when we're done using, I guess maybe they went dumpster diving a little bit too.
Yeah.
But don't let's not give them the data. No, I'm joking. Are these products available only in illicit markets, or are they available in major retail outlets? From my latest research, I interviewed the owners of 14 of those legal retailers, gas stations in the Philadelphia suburbs. I found a total of 459 vape products, with each retailer selling at least 100 brands. 2 brands, Elf and Lost Mary, both made by Chinese company Shenzhen Miracle, dominated the market. More than 30 different Elf and Lost Mary flavors were available, including blueberry, kiwi, watermelon, and cherry. And I'm gonna admit something. I bought some Lost Mary disposables, and I don't know. They weren't as good as the Geek Bar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I wasn't really a big fan of the Lost Mary flavors, so I don't know. Maybe I'm a doubter on that one. Of the 459 vape products on these retailer shelves, only 3 tobacco or menthol flavored products made by Views were approved by the FDA. A couple of Juul products are in a kind of legal limbo that leaves 454 brands, or 99% of the market, that are illegal. Sales of these illegal vapes have gone from a few $100s a month to more than $10,000 a month. This is astonishing, and it's not limited to the Philadelphia suburbs. Gas stations up and down the I-95 corridor sell similar products, often with different brands from within the same brand group. Geek Bar was the best seller in Maryland and DC, where it was Elf Bar in Pennsylvania and Lost Mary in New York City. Now, we had to run over to the courthouse today and drop off some paperwork, and we were coming back, and Elena was like, "Hey, if you see a Circle K, pull over. I want to get a coffee." And so it was just funny. It was almost like she was clairvoyant. Like, we came around the corner, boom, there was a Circle K right there. So we pulled into the Circle K, and we noticed there was a vape shop in this strip mall, and then the Circle K was selling vapes themselves. And I was actually pretty shocked to find in this Circle K, they had like all the stuff. They had like the Geek Bar 15K puff deals. They had quite a wide variety of actual disposables. I thought I was just going to kind of see junk and stuff in there. But yeah, that was kind of shocking to me. But at any rate, maybe I shouldn't have been shocked. Why are unapproved products sold in otherwise legal businesses? The store managers I interviewed were not sure which of the products they sell are legal. They assume their suppliers operate legally and undertake due diligence. One manager said that while he obviously didn't want to break the law, there's a Judas Priest song in there somewhere.
Yeah, there is.
Demand for vaping products is significant. There is no strong guidance on illegality, and so I'll keep selling them until I'm told not to, and that is enforced. Distributors and retailers should obey the law, but it is their fault they're not. But is it their fault they're not? As leading tobacco regulation analyst Clive Bates put it, the FDA has created almost insurmountable regulatory hurdles and barriers to entry for vapes. The FDA's strict legal sanction on U.S. vape pioneer and previous market leader Juul, which prevented it from selling flavored products, was not followed up with further significant action against manufacturers or retailers that sell similar products from companies based outside the United States. Manufacturers have tried to comply with the FDA rules, but the agency has changed its mind repeatedly on what manufacturers must demonstrate, with the obvious aim of denying new products. Some have ultimately resorted to litigation. In a recent decision, the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled against the FDA on grounds that its decision-making processes to approve vaping products are arbitrary and capricious. The FDA, how long is this article? Good Lord. All right, just making sure.
Just checking.
The FDA is currently seeking a U.S. Supreme Court ruling on its decision-making process, but in the meantime, the legal limbo continues. FDA is effectively handling quality control over vaping products to China, where most of the finished vaping products, hardware, and e-liquids are produced. While Chinese authorities have little interest in the quality of the products exported to the U.S., Chinese companies want repeat business and therefore have an incentive not to harm U.S. users. And it should be noted that many of the larger brands, such as those made by Shenzhen I Miracle, have passed UK quality rules. But Chinese quality control is weak in pharmaceutical production, even when FDA has some oversight. The possibility of a lethal accident from Chinese-made vaping products is not negligible. After all, illegal cannabis vapes made with E-acetate caused the death of 68 Americans in 2019 and 2020.
At least they got that right.
That's true. Well, given that the alternative to vaping is usually smoking, U.S. public policy should encourage vaping products manufactured to a high standard and marketed exclusively to adults. And that's what I'm saying is like they seem to be missing the boat on this. Is that they take it away and they completely handcuff the U.S. market. But so then you have to resort to one other alternative, and then all this other stuff starts to flood the market. And I think that they just set themselves up to potentially see something else bad happen at some point in the process. Something's going to come over tainted or something like that. So with this over regulation, they actually do more harm than just trying to be reasonable here. Did I already read the first sentence? Given the alternative to vaping is, yeah, I did read that. That means establishing and enforcing clear, objective, and reasonable quality standards would apply to all vapes on the market, as the UK has done, and not imposing arbitrary and capricious requirements on vape manufacturers and importers, as the FDA has done. It's time for the FDA to do its job, approve good quality products, and let a regulated market develop. So much conflicting information, going around. This is more of an opinion piece, but I do think that it brings up an important point, and that is that that's kind of like what we're kind of staring down the double barrels of. I mean, look at what Jeff was. He moved out of moved out of the New York environment because of the bans that they impose. Granted, he's allowed to have his shops in in Pennsylvania, despite having to pay the heavier taxes on those things. You can't imagine for 1 second that anything flowing into New York based on that ban is completely safe. So I don't understand why they would want to subject people to more unsafe conditions on the argument that vaping is just not safe in the first place. Call me crazy. I don't know.
I will call you crazy. Crazy.
Thank you very much. And just don't call me Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley.
Yeah. So I mean, wiener dog. So I just these kinds of things are a little bit comical to me. But I mean, I do think that this is if they continue down the path they want to go, I just think it's more problematic for the rest of us.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right, so you want to talk about my state? We got about 15 minutes left. Something's actually happening.
Go, Tim. It's not your birthday, but go, Timmy.
No, there's actually something happening in Georgia. I don't know what this one popped up, so I'm like, ooh, I got to read this one. This one sounds interesting. This is for all my Georgia resident fans out there. I don't think we have. Is there anybody else on the show in the chat that lives here in Georgia? I don't think so. I think we got everybody sprinkled all over the world and every other state but mine.
I used to live there.
What's that?
I used to live there.
Okay, that qualifies.
Well, she doesn't tell anybody.
Exactly. So the Georgia Department of Health continues to undermine public health. So recently on social media, the Georgia Department of Health, GADOH,
damn.
Like I've kind of come to the realization that the acronym thing has kind of gotten completely out of control. Like, why am I going to waste my time reading this stupid long acronym when, to me, technically, it sounds easier to just say Georgia Department of Health. So yeah, I just was reading an article in the GADOH.
Oh yeah.
You know what they had to say, and everybody's looking at you like a deer in headlights. Like, who the fuck are the GADOH? Criticized e-cigarettes, suggesting they are dangerous. This position unfortunately aligns with the agency's history of skepticism toward vaping as a tobacco harm reduction tool, despite evidence from numerous public health organizations that find e-cigarettes less harmful and helpful in assisting adults to quit smoking. Policymakers should be wary of the misinformation being spread by a taxpayer-funded agency tasked with protecting public health. Yeah. It is especially concerning that there are more than 1 million Georgia adults who currently smoke who can't rely on a health agency to provide accurate information on the benefits of e-cigarettes. Now, with that said, there are no regulations that I'm aware of that are happening here in Georgia. It's pretty much unfettered access to whatever the shops can carry. Now, I've never gone into a shop and perused what's on the shelf necessarily. I can certainly say that from a vape shop perspective, most of them are like a lot of the other ones. Is the volume of disposables is much higher than some of the other things. Like, I'm sure you can go in there and they've got coils and things of that nature, but what I've seen vanish off the shelves is a lot of the older style stuff, if you want to call it that. Maybe some of the pods, maybe some of the AIOs, some of the smaller, more convenient devices, but you just don't see the DovPo stuff in there. You don't see the Geek Vape and smoke stuff, like maybe a little bit of it, but just not to the extreme that it used to. In a July 24 post on X, formerly known as Twitter, the agency shared a graphic posting the question, is vaping better than smoking? The graphic implied a negative answer by stating e-cigarettes contain thousands of toxic chemicals. Well, we've seen this so many times before. The Georgia Department of Health, see what I did there? Added e-cigarettes harbor thousands of toxic chemicals that are harmful to your body. This consistent stance is echoed by the Georgia Department of Health's webpage on e-cigarettes, which describes these products as coming in colorful, fun, and unique designs with appealing flavors, particularly attractive to youth. The Georgia Department of Health also highlights that vapes contain high levels of nicotine, which is not entirely true. Some, yes, not all. Like, can you guys just get off that high horse of just sort of claiming that these things are just chock full of nicotine? Yes, some of them are. The vast majority of disposables, yes. I don't really see much on the shelves. Like, even if I go shopping online, I don't really see variable ones. I don't see 36, 24, 18, or 12. All I see is 50. That's all I see online. And that e-cigarette aerosol exposure is unsafe, containing harmful chemicals and metals, which can interfere with lung development and health. This is similar to the Georgia Department of Health stance in 2019, though the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention had attributed then spate of vaping-related lung injuries to illicit vapor products containing THC. In November 2019, the Georgia Department of Health urged that individuals do not use e-cigarettes or other vaping devices. Rather than fostering alarmism by disseminating misinformation, public health agencies should focus on reducing smoking rates by embracing technological advances in tobacco harm reduction, including the adoption of e-cigarettes. It is projected that in 2024, Georgia will spend more than $3.6 billion on smoking-related healthcare costs. The Georgia Department of Health is expected to receive $422 million, a 6% increase in state funding in the state's 2025 budget proposal. This is an increase of $22 million from the 2024 budget. The potential savings from reduced smoking-related costs are significant if the Georgia Department of Health were to support the use of tobacco harm reduction products instead of perpetuating misinformation. Well, right, because the more you scare people, they're going to go to the alternatives. Right? Or they're going to stay with the thing that they're trying to get away from in the first place. So you're not helping anybody with any of this, because you're not necessarily scaring people away from it. Like, we could talk about, warning labels on cigarettes and stuff like that. Like, you could put the most grotesque image on the side of a pack of cigarettes, and people are still going to walk into the store and buy that pack of cigarettes. I mean, it's not changing any minds. You know, you need to have something that's a little bit more relative in terms of getting proper information out to people. And then, you know, you could still have your campaigns. You know, you could say, you know, putting anything in your lungs isn't healthy. But if you're going to do something, certainly we would encourage you to do this rather than that.
Yes.
For a multitude of reasons, not to mention the fact that, you know, you are lessening your chance to have smoking related illnesses and complications further on down the line. That's not to say that you're exempt. You know, you could be a 30-year smoker and a 2-year vapor. Grim put something up. There was that article flying around on Twitter today. Oh, sorry, I'll call it Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it.
X.
Where the lady had all those issues, and they showed her laying in a bed. Yeah, laying in a bed, and you know, and obviously
Nick just sent me that article.
yeah. And so, you know, and that's the thing is that when you see these articles, how quickly they run to the 2-year vaping exposure time period and don't consider any of the 20 years that when she was a smoker and the damage that she potentially did to her body over that time. You know what I mean? Like he made a very good point. Like what seems more realistic? You know what I mean? Do you really honestly think? I mean, that's like saying, you know, I started using nasal spray, you know, instead of like, you know, inhaling some old I wanted to say wives' tale, but like you know, the old remedies that you use that were like mom remedies like back in the day, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, go huff on a can of spray paint. That'll clear your lungs right up, you know what I mean? I know that isn't one of them, and please don't go do that. That was a facetious comment, but at any rate, it's just like things like that. Now I got to remember. Moreover, numerous public health organizations, including the CDC and Food and Drug Administration, have found e-cigarettes to be less harmful than traditional cigarettes, and that I think is the biggest thing that is bothersome to me is that all of these organizations and health agencies openly admit that they're better for you, but it's bolstered by people putting out a bunch of bullshit statements saying they're worse. The CDC has stated that e-cigarettes are less harmful than regular cigarettes and that e-cigarette vapor generally contains fewer toxic chemicals than combustible cigarettes. The FDA has authorized the sale of more than 40 e-cigarette products, recognizing their potential for public health. In fact, the FDA's most recent marketing orders for 7 e-cigarette products concluded that these products could benefit adults who smoke cigarettes. Combustible cigarettes are the most deadly tobacco products, responsible for more than 11,000 adult deaths annually in Georgia. Just in Georgia alone, 11,000 annually. In 2022, 1.1 million adults in Georgia were smoking. Lower income individuals are disproportionately affected, with 25.8% of Georgian adults earning less than $25,000 annually smoking in 2022. Compared to only 7.2% of those earning 50,000 or more. And it's tougher now in the world of inflation. Interesting, while smoking rates among Georgian adults have adults decreased by 16.7% from 2021 to 2022. That's a pretty big jump. The percentage of adults vaping increased by 60.4% during that period. In 2022, more than 647,000 Georgia adults were vaping. Among those over 25 who vaped, nearly half, 48.2%, reported having previously smoked, while 37.8% were using cigarettes. This comment. Okay, we're almost there. Oh, is that Lindsay? Lindsay wrote this one. I didn't realize it was Lindsay. As a tobacco harm reduction tool, e-cigarettes have proven more effective than traditional nicotine replacement therapy in helping adults quit smoking. They've also been economically beneficial to Georgia, generating more than $9.3 million in state vapor excise tax revenue in 2023 and contributing more than $432 million to the economy in the year. Georgia policymakers should demand greater transparency and accurate information from the state health department. The 1.1 million adults who smoke in Georgia deserve accurate facts, not misinformation. The approach to public health should be rooted in accurate data and transparent communication to guide the public towards healthier choices. However, the current narrative pushed by the Georgia Department of Health overlooks. See, that's what it is. Now we know, because that's a lot more words that Lindsay has to type when she's doing her article if she has to actually type Georgia Department of Health. For her, it's easier just to type just GADOH. However, the current narrative pushed by the Georgia Department of Health overlooks significant evidence and undermines the potential benefits of e-cigarettes as a less harmful alternative for those looking to quit smoking. As Georgia moves forward, it is imperative for state policymakers to demand greater accountability and clarity from health officials, ensuring that the health policies enacted are based on science and genuine public health interests rather than misplaced fears. Still smoking? Go digital. We can help. Exactly. Yeah. So, this doesn't specifically speak to any particular kind of policy that might be coming down the line or any kind of changes for Georgia residents, including myself. But yeah, it just caters to the same idea that, that the public at large is subjected to far more misinformation that could prove to be more harmful than just being somewhat truthful or a little bit more truthful. At least try to be truthful.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
Yeah. Anyhow.
It'd be too hard, it seems like,
Yeah.
Well, I just feel like because they're doing that, I think it speaks volumes to the idea that something's at stake for them. I don't feel like they're doing it based on genuine premise that they just give a shit, about people in general and what they choose to do in their personal and private time. It's about money. They want that funding, so they're gonna say that dumb stuff so somebody keeps cutting them that check. But who am I? I'm just some hippie.
You're Tim from Georgia.
Exactly. I'm
just in case you forgot.
I'm Tim. I'm well informed Tim from Georgia. How about that?
There you go.
Anyhow, so that's that. I don't think I have time for another one. We only got 3 minutes left, John.
No, you do not, Timmy. But we do have time to say goodbye to everybody.
That's absolutely true. We can.
That is absolutely. We always have time for that. Yes. We always have time to thank everybody out there in chat for joining us and always being part of our show. We always look forward to seeing your names on there. Tim loves saying them. So, you can't take that away from Tim. I mean, he needs to be able to come up with those quirky new names and nicknames and all kinds of stuff. And
my favorite part of the show, John.
It's his favorite part. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you to Jeff Barry. He'll be back with us. His battery ran out, but he'll be back on with us shortly. I am getting his line. He has a line of e-liquids that's coming to me. I'll do a review on them as well, and have Lindsay. He wants Lindsay to be part of the show when I do that, so I will have Lindsay on the show somehow. I didn't want to bother her. I know she's focused on finding a house. I'm not sure where Lindsay's looking for a house, but I felt like, you know what? I don't want to bother her while she's house hunting and stuff like that. So, but we will be back next week with a whole new show, and with us, all of us will be here. And maybe Phillip, Phil. We don't know. Philip
can't keep his calendar straight, apparently.
Yeah, he's got things going on, man. All right, everybody. Tim, Michelle, look into the camera and say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.